All right, everyone. We have a jam-packed agenda today, so we're going to get right into it. Thank you for joining today's Residential EV Solutions Lunch and Learn hosted by Electric Ride 805. Before we jump in, I'm going to cover a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar will be recorded and posted to Electric Ride 805's YouTube and website. So if you're not comfortable with being on camera, feel free to stay off camera. We will be sending the presentation slides and contact information for all of our speakers after today's webinar to everyone who attends and registers. And lastly, we'll be having a dedicated Q&A session after all presentations are complete. So we'll provide the opportunity for attendees to come off mute at the very end of the webinar. We have about 15 minutes scheduled for that, and we have flexibility to stay on after one. So if questions are running long, we can accommodate a few more minutes there. But with hopes of answering as many questions as possible, we encourage attendees to send questions in the Zoom chat as we go through today's webinar, so our presenters can answer them throughout today's webinar. All right. I'm just going to give a brief introduction to Electric Ride 805 before we jump in. Electric Ride 805 is a coalition of local government and nonprofit partners dedicated to achieving a rapid, equitable transition to electric vehicles across the Central Coast. In 2011, Electric Ride 805 was launched as a joint effort by the organizations you see on this slide, which also make up our steering committee. In recent years, we have expanded our efforts to host open stakeholder meetings and educational webinars, such as today's Lunch and Learn, to further support the adoption of electric vehicles and other clean transportation technologies. As I mentioned, today's agenda is jam-packed with some great presentations covering various EV charging incentive programs. Please remember, we will have our dedicated Q&A session at the very end of today's webinar, but we welcome questions in the chat throughout the session. So I'll be kicking it off to our first presenter, Santa Barbara Clean Energy, to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Sydney. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm Stephanie Holmes here with my colleagues Julia Garcia and John Grieser. We're with the City of Santa Barbara's Sustainability and Resilience Department, and we're here to talk about the EV charging and electric transportation options offered through Santa Barbara Clean Energy. Next slide, please. So we'll begin with an overview of the residential EV program before discussing our Charge Up SB program and finally B-Cycle. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of Santa Barbara Clean Energy's programs portfolio that includes EV charging, like we'll be talking about today, trees and home electrification. These and everything we discussed today can be found on our website. And now, without further ado, Julia will now kick us off and take us through SBCE's residential EV program.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to start off with this quick overview of the residential EV program. We have 3 rebates that we offer, and that is the EV purchase or lease on new and pre-owned vehicles, and that is for income qualified applicants only. The second would be our level 2 EV charger rebate, and then the final one would be the EV Make Ready. We do offer those increased rebates for those income qualified applicants. Other supporting materials we have to make the application process easier and the overall experience would be our incentive finder, which would be done by zip code. You enter in your zip code and you can see what other rebates you might be eligible for. And other project resources like a contractor list of those who we have previously done work for these projects, a list of project costs and other guidance documents. Slide, please. This is a quick snapshot of the rebates that we are offering. And again, that is the battery electric vehicle, the plug-in hybrid electric, level 2 chargers, both hardwired and plug-in, and the associated electrical work or make ready. Slide, please. And just a quick look at our performance from the last year. We have strong participation in the residential EV program. Over 96 EV purchase rebates in the last year, 43 EV charger rebates, and 39 make-ready rebates. We're gearing up to launch the program again for this upcoming fiscal year. We'll begin accepting applications July 7th. I'll go ahead and turn back to Stephanie.
Thanks, Julia. So in addition to our residential EV program, we also have recently launched Charge Up SB. And Charge Up SB is our newest EV program that aims to increase equitable access to EV charging for renters in multifamily buildings. This program offerings include free technical assistance and generous incentives to make it easier, faster, and more affordable to plan and install EV chargers in existing multifamily buildings. Next slide, please. So this is an overview of the incentives we offer. We're really excited that this program is fully launched and already has 21 projects in the project pipeline, and permit applications are anticipated to come in fall 2026. Now I will turn it back over to Julia to tell us a little bit about B-Cycle.
If you are unfamiliar with B-Cycle, B-Cycle is a shared electric bike system here in the city of Santa Barbara. We have over 100 stations and over 300 bikes in our fleet, and SBCE customers are eligible for 20% off an annual membership. In some exciting news about B-Cycle, slide please, we have just launched 21 new stations, and those are represented by the orange dots. It says May 2026, but we actually launched on June 2nd of this month. And we've really expanded access to these stations. And yes, that concludes, sorry about that. That concludes our presentation. If you have any questions for us, we'll hold for that at the end, but there's our contact information. I will go ahead and turn it back to our facilitator.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Julia, for presenting. We'll be sending out all contact information so you can contact them directly after today's webinar. And I will now be passing it over to Faith from Central Coast Community Energy.
Awesome. Thanks, Sydney. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. My name is Faith Yorba. I'm an energy programs analyst with Central Coast Community Energy, or 3CE, and I'm excited to present on 3CE's EV charging incentives for residential customers and multifamily properties. Next slide. I'll start with a little bit about 3CE. For anyone who is unfamiliar, we are a locally governed public agency that provides clean electricity to California's 5 Central Coast counties. Those are San Benito, Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara. 3CE began service in 2018, and since then we have experienced significant growth across the Central Coast. And today we are made up of we are made up of 35 cities and counties with over 1.2 million customers enrolled. The map on the slide highlights our current service area. I will point out that one city that is not a part of 3CE is the city of Santa Barbara. You just heard from Santa Barbara Clean Energy folks. They represent the city of Santa Barbara. We represent the county as a whole. So if you're in Santa Barbara, you may or may not be a 3CE customer. But you can always reach out or check your energy bill and you will see us listed there. But a little bit more about 3CE. Unlike traditional investor-owned utility companies, 3CE is governed by elected representatives and city or county staff who come directly from our communities. This local governance structure ensures that decisions reflect community values and priorities, and with no investors or shareholders, revenue generated by 3CE stays local. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight our mission. So our mission is to serve our Central Coast communities by providing reliable, clean, and affordable electricity and electrification programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and strengthen our local economy. Next slide. We do this in part through our energy programs portfolio, which spans 10 programs and 2 pilots across 4 key focus areas. Those are transportation, buildings, agriculture, and energy optimization. Today, I'm focusing specifically on transportation electrification and our EV charging incentives. But if anyone is interested in any of our other programs, please feel free to visit our website or reach out to me directly and I can provide more information. Next slide. All right, so Electrify Your Ride, this is our flagship program. It aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase EV adoption through rebates for EVs and EV charger installations. This program is available to all 3CE customers, but I will say rebates are available on a first come, first served basis while funds remain. And I'm highlighting this point because it has been a very popular year for this specific program. And as of this week, we have distributed over 95% of our available program funds for this fiscal year. And so we are planning to pause the program on July 6th, which I believe is a week from now, and reopen the program at the start of our next fiscal year, which is October 1st. But for anyone listening who has purchased an EV or installed a charger between August 1st of last year, August 1st, 2025, and now, you are eligible for this year's program, and I strongly encourage you to apply as soon as possible. It only takes a few minutes. Our website offers a really nice breakdown of eligibility requirements and application process. But if customers are unable to apply before the program pause, or customers who complete purchases or installations during the pause, these customers will be eligible for next year's program, which opens in October. But rebate amounts can change. So that's why I really highlight if you installed or bought an EV, please apply this year. Okay, next slide. All right, so a breakdown of our rebates for our residential customers. These rebates are available for both homeowners and renters and cover new and used vehicles, as well as EV chargers and installation costs. So for home charging, we offer a standard rebate of up to $2,000 to cover the charger as well as any installation costs. Sometimes this covers the entire cost. So we have customers who purchase an EV charger and have it installed and the cost is less than $2,000. The max rebate is $2,000 for our standard customers, but we do offer higher incentives for income qualified customers. And there's 2 ways to qualify for these. Customers who are enrolled in either CARE or FARA programs through their utility, they automatically qualify for our tier 2 rebate. And other customers can attach to their application a redacted copy of their most recent 1040 tax form showing household size and adjusted gross income. And then on our website, we have a table that shows kind of like where you would fall in like which tier you would fall into based off your income. And for more information about this, you can head to the website or you can reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions about qualifications. And I will just say for home charger installations, you can self-install and we will cover the cost of the charger and the materials. Or if a contractor was hired, we will cover the cost of the charger, materials, and labor costs. So just highlighting that there. Next slide, please. Now for our commercial and multifamily customers, we have a different set of incentives available. Specifically for level 2 EV charging, we offer commercial businesses 75% of the project cost up to $8,000. And for multifamily projects, we offer up to $20,000. And a multifamily project or a multifamily building is 4 or more units. And in addition to these incentives, we also offer free technical assistance to commercial and multifamily customers because these projects can sometimes be a lot more complex. So we have technical assistance to help with the planning and implementation. Next slide for a little bit more on this. At the start of 3C's next fiscal year, October 1st, we're launching a new technical assistance program called EV Launchpad. This technical assistance program will support commercial and multifamily properties with their EV charging needs. You can come in at any step along the process. You could have no idea where to begin, or you could, be halfway through the implementation process or the planning process and be stuck, and you can submit a form on our website starting October 1st. Form does not currently exist, but then our technical assistance provider, Optany, can reach out to you and provide a site assessment that evaluates charging feasibility, space and ADA considerations, load requirements, cost estimates, and overall suitability of your project. And then additionally, eligible customers can receive construction-ready engineering and site design documents, allowing them to go straight to permitting and installation after receiving technical assistance. So we're really trying to make this as easy as possible. We know that a lot of times the planning process can be really complicated and people can get hung up on it. So we're really excited about this new program. And if anyone is interested, please reach out to me and I'm happy to provide more information. And that is all I have today. I will take questions in the chat. You can also email me at programs@3c.org or unmute during the Q&A, but thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Faith. I think you have a question in the chat, if you're able to respond to that. And I will be giving the next brief presentation. My name is Sydney Rouse, and I'll be talking about the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District's 2026 Clean Air Grants for Infrastructure program. Our 2026 program has an approximately 40-day application window, opening July 27th and closing September 4th. Private, public, and nonprofit entities are eligible to submit one application, and successful projects are eligible to receive a grant between $10,000 and $250,000. Grant amounts depend on eligible costs and fund availability, and grants are issued on a reimbursement basis. Projects are competitively ranked, with priority given to projects located in state-designated disadvantaged communities, at multi-unit residential properties, and publicly accessible projects. I will note that we also have funding for different project types, such as agriculture equipment, emergency diesel backup generators, marine vessels, etc. So I highly recommend reviewing our website and all the different project categories, but today I will just be focusing on our infrastructure program. So unfortunately, we do not have any incentives for single family residents, but we do have opportunities for multifamily properties with 5 or more units to receive a grant under our program. EV chargers must be accessible to all residents at a multifamily property, and chargers must comply with ADA requirements. Level 2 and Level 3 chargers are eligible, as well as large-scale Level 1 EV charging projects may be considered on a case-by-case basis. All projects must be voluntary and not required by any federal, state, or local regulation, such as California Green Building Code. This slide provides an overview of eligible and ineligible costs for infrastructure projects, as well as maximum funding percentages for eligible project costs based on different project types. So you can see here the base percentage of eligible costs for all infrastructure projects is 60%. And then there's 3 different opportunities for incentive level up. So projects located at sensitive receptors, which are schools, daycares, residences, so multifamily residents, as well as hospitals and other healthcare facilities in which people gather and sensitive populations are present. Publicly accessible projects or public entity applicants, as well as projects with renewable solar or wind power system. Please note that funding is capped at a maximum of 80% of eligible project costs. And for multifamily residential projects, we've had instances where, based on the design of the property. It could be a publicly accessible charger that's open to all residents, but also to members of the public. But it can also be privately accessible to only tenants and visitors of tenants on the property. Please send all questions related to our 2026 Clean Air Grants program to grants@sbcapcd.org, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And thank you for tuning in. I'll be passing it to Diana to talk about her programs.
Great. Thank you, Sydney. And it's nice to be here today with everybody. My name is Diana Gilmore, and I'm a program manager for dcbel. We are a clean energy solutions provider for single-family residents. Specifically, we manufacture a home energy station and with the associated hardware and software that comes with it to make it a connected device, not only working locally at homes, but also connected to the grid and other entities as a controllable device. So today, what I'm going to go through, this is a bit of a sprint, but I'm going to try to organize this in a way that I can communicate as much information as possible. The first few slides, I'm going to be kind of going through who is dcbel, what our mission statement is. After that, I'll introduce ARA, which is the name of our home energy station. Specifically, I'll get into bidirectional charging and also mention by adding solar and home battery storage, you can create your own private grid. And then finally, I'll go into some information about a specific grant that we have for California residents. It's known, within the industry as a Redwoods grant, but we call it the California Connected Home Rebate Program, and I can get into specifics on that. So to kick off, I wanted to make mention of kind of who we are. dcbel, as I said, we manufacture a home energy station. This is different than just an EV charger. It's actually intended to control the EV charging, but also solar as well as your EV, as well as home storage. It has an inverter that does the conversion between those different devices, and it orchestrates efficiencies, listens to different signals, pricing signals that may be coming from your utility, weather, a whole array of different data inputs. And then it's has AI logic that helps to manage all of the decision making so that the customer can be basically at home, enjoying their home, enjoying their life, and not be thinking about all of the hundreds of thousands of decisions that go into actually creating efficiencies and lowering costs at your home. So this is all to say that our device is actually built around the homeowner, around you, and not around other entities. It's really about bringing, next slide, energy without compromise to the homeowner. And what we mean by energy without compromise, that means that you have backup, you have power when there's a blackout. You're able to manage rising energy costs without having to make all those decisions. We ensure that the complexity and inefficiency are managed by the device and not by you. We also, for this conversation in particular, because we're talking about EV charging and transportation, we recognize that there's an enormous amount of power and value that's associated with your electric vehicle, your battery, and I'll go into that a little bit further on in the program here. And then we also enable programs, as we've been going through today, talking about different utility programs, city municipal programs that help for adoption to kind of get over those initial costs, but also provide an ongoing revenue stream by availing your energy resources, your batteries, to a utility or a CCA, so that you can actually be incentivized and paid for having that resource at your home. Okay, so next slide. Here's a quick overview about our investors, just to give you an idea that we have major utilities and automobile OEMs, and also we're supported by a number of very large grants from utility programs for the California Energy Commission, and so on and so forth. So that's just a quick overview, real quick on that. Next slide. So this is what our device looks like. As I mentioned, it's called Aura. It can mount in your garage, outside. It's fully weatherproof. The inverter that I mentioned before is housed in the main unit you're looking at right now. There is an interactive screen that is constantly showing you the energy flows within your home, that you're able to actually witness what's happening. We recognize that, energy is invisible, and so a lot of times it can be confusing as to what decisions are being made and why. And through this way, there's transparency, so the consumer starts to learn how their behavior actually, drives value, or perhaps some adjustments to behavior would be beneficial to you. And by knowing that, you can react to it. Additionally, to the EVSE, or the charging aspects to the device, there's two connectors. On the right is an AC connector for level 2 charging. On the left is a DC charger for DC fast charging, as well as DC bidirectional charging. Next slide. And I mentioned before too, is that what we realize, or what we're enabling, I should say, is that by having you build your home electrification over time, you're able to add devices and not be stuck within a proprietary system that mandates that you actually purchase things, either from dcbel or some other entity. We have interoperability, which means that over time, because we use standard protocols for communication to your solar, communication to a battery, communication to your vehicle, these are your choices. What that solar looks like, what that home battery storage looks like, what that EV looks like, is up to you. And so as you go through your life and you purchase different vehicles, as long as those vehicles and those solar systems and the battery use a standard protocol for communication, we allow you to have choice as to what those energy resources look like for you, as to how you want to build your electrified home. And in that way, you're at the beginning, if you may just have an electric vehicle, you're on a journey to potentially create a private grid, which means that you can have more energy independence and also be able to flex should there be a power outage and other things that happen as we live our lives. Next slide. Here's just a quick snapshot about what the device can do. We use this Polestar 3 in PG&E territory, and should there be a power outage in this particular, the dependencies are written down here. When you guys get the slide deck, you can see what our assumptions were. But if you were just to live your life, air conditioning on, hot tub on, 2.5 days of full blackout power is associated with this solution, the system right here that you're looking at. If you're able to ration your power by turning off the hot tub, turning down your electricity or your heat at that particular time, up to 10 days of power would be associated with this Polestar and the dcbel device. Doing energy arbitrage up to $1,300 per year in savings. And again, this is a specific scenario, but it can bring, I think it shows what we're talking about in terms of benefits to the customer. Next slide. And then, as I mentioned before, if you add solar, clean energy, free clean energy, and additional home battery storage, you've started to create your independent private grid. Next slide. And I mentioned before too that all of this decision making, which can be overwhelming, is actually done by Aura and our internal logic AI algorithms that do all of the work behind the scenes, so you don't have to. Next slide. Okay, so just a little bit about the California Connected Home grant that we have. This is currently, we're in phase one, which is 200 installations in the state of California. Phase two would be up to 12,500 installations. This is pending funding from the CEC, but that was the initial amount of money that we were granted. So let's go to the next slide because I think it just kind of gets down to it's a $50 million grant once fully funded. So there's two tranches. One is for like a standard customer. The other side of this table is for low income or disadvantaged community folks. It's based on your address. So you actually, unlike I think Faith was talking about one where you do have to submit like your actual income. This is based on where the address of your home. So in the case of a priority customer, there's up to $8,100 in rebates associated with the hardware, $2,000 for the installation. Should you choose to do an interconnection agreement, there's $200. In California, it's $800 in total, but that'd be $200 towards that. You can choose to be on a dynamic rate, which is another topic for another time. That's an additional $1,000. And then if you have a eligible bidirectional vehicle, that's $2,500. So these are generous rebates. And right now we are actively looking for those 200 customers in the state of California. Next slide should be my contact information. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Yeah, there we go. Here is, we also manage a whole process of onboarding. If this next slide will show you how to get to our webpage, $200 deposit, fully refundable. We do an interview. We have a home visit from one or two different installers who have been pre-vetted to install our equipment and just go through this process and get you set up with this device at your home. And last slide, please. Okay, here's the contact information. I mentioned you can reserve a unit as a part of the rebate program. There's also another email address for any questions you might have. And if you have specific questions about the rebate, I'm more than happy to help you with that or just help direct you in general. All right, thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Diana. We'll be passing it off to our last speaker, Stefan from Moon 5.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. All right, cool. Hi, my name is Stefan. I'm the CEO and founder of Moon 5, and we're providing dedicated EV charging for renters. If you can go to the next slide. So a lot of folks on the call are likely familiar with the fact that a lot of people within multifamily homes are often left out of the electric vehicle transition, right? It's often a decision that is made by the property owner. And it's a bit of a chicken and the egg problem, right? Because the property owners often have the issue of not knowing what the demand is like. But on the other side of things, renters often don't have a way to really request or get this hardware in to begin with. And so what that's really led to is a decrease in adoption of electric vehicles within multifamily homes. And so what we're looking to do is really sort of break that dynamic. If you go to the next slide. So we are providing a dedicated level 2 charger that is dedicated towards a specific individual within an apartment. And so rather than having a shared commodity like you typically would have in a multifamily home, we sort of enable you to, as a multifamily tenant, request this within your property. We'll help you walk through that process, talk with your property owner as well. And the goal really is to provide you with a cost-effective way to charge as well as a convenient way to charge. Typically, we charge about $50 a month. However, if you go to the next slide, we're actually offering it completely for free right now. And this is because we have a $3.4 million California Energy Commission grant that we're executing off of. And we need to deploy over 400 units by January 31st of 2027. So we're hitting the ground running. And so we have a lot of money to sort of, put out these different units in. And really the way to sort of think about this is that it isn't completely free. We still have to, there still is going to be energy costs, but those energy costs are going to be base rate of energy. And so rather than the sort of typical dynamic of having a shared, common amenity, sort of like a pool, instead think of this more as like the internet, right? Where you pay for your router, but then you get sort of unlimited access. And so same thing here, rather than creating a branch off of house power or common power, which is owned by your property owner, we're instead splitting the balance of power between your apartment and your vehicle specifically. And so what that means is if you sign up for a more affordable energy rate, it enables you to also have that reflected on how much your vehicles is costing for you to fuel it as well. And so, if you go to the next slide, what that ends up resulting in is the average driver saves about $800 a year. And this is because they don't have to go to a DC fast charger anymore. They don't have to go to, use this sort of marked up common amenity charger as well. It really is just going to be, the energy that's on your utility bill is what you're paying for your energy rate, plus, on average, the sort of extra fee that we're adding on top for the actual hardware and deployment and infrastructure. But there's no setup fee. There's no sort of, any gotcha fees anywhere. It really is just supposed to be this flat rate. And with the grant, it is going to be supported for 6 years for free. So that includes maintenance, operations of these systems as well. And then if you're a high mileage driver, for example, an Uber or Lyft driver who is using your car as a way to get around, you have the potential to save up to $14,000 a year. And with gas prices spiking, I think this was actually a number calculated several months ago. So it's actually probably even higher at this point. Our goal is really to connect your car where it's needed the most. dcbel mentioned bidirectional energy. That is also sort of our focus within the multifamily home as well. Right now, we're providing this really easy way to get fueled, but longer term, we're looking to connect your vehicle, which is going to be the largest battery you will ever own, to the right place to be able to provide electrical resiliency to individual apartments as well. If you go to the next slide, a little bit more information about what I talked about. We have a $3.4 million grant. Really, the goal is again to deploy these 400 units across our 100 different properties at least. And then if you go to the next slide, just a little bit more information. I think we can skip over this. This is pretty quick. And so here's a QR code. And so the way that our system works is if you scan this QR code, you will there's a bit of a questionnaire to get sort of pre-qualified. We'll do a little bit of work before we really go onto site with you. But then we will have that conversation after we sort of qualify your property that it can match the criteria that we're looking for this grant. If it is not a match, we'll let you know pretty quickly. And if it is a match, we'll escalate this to your property owner with your consent, and then hopefully get you charging pretty quickly. And I think that's it from me. So if you want to scan this QR code, this is a good chance to do so. Alrighty. Then I think that might be the end for me.
I think.
One more slide. Just talking about the backup power. But yeah, I think I covered that already.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll keep this up for just one more minute, but those were all of our presenters for today. Thanks everyone for being efficient. Now we're going to move into a Q&A session. I know folks have been sending questions in the chat, which is awesome. Thank you so much. If you'd like to unmute to answer a question, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature for raise your hand, and then we'll go through in order of folks that raise their hand for questions. Go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah. We have carports that have each resident has a slot in the carport, and the carports are currently underpowered. They have about 50 amp service for a carport of a dozen vehicles, and we would like to find a way to boost that power to either 100 or 200 amps so that it could be then allocated to individuals to charge their vehicles. So we're looking at a way to provide sort of per vehicle individual charging in the carport rather than a shared facility that might be out in a parking lot or something like that. So it sounds as though there are grants available for this kind of thing. It's essentially additional infrastructure that would involve a higher power rating from Southern Cal Edison and some new wiring to get from the transformer to the electrical panel that's in the carport. So
Can you just confirm where is the property located and what?
We're in Goleta. It's called Encina Royale. We're in Goleta. So we're not technically in Santa Barbara. We are in the town of Goleta.
Hi, Kurt, with Central Coast Community Energy. I can't answer your question specifically, although I can confirm that the technical assistance that we provide for multifamily properties can do an evaluation of your site and the electrical upgrade needs that you may have for your project. And so I'm not the expert there. We have experts on our team that can do that work, but I definitely think that with the project you're looking at, it would make sense to consult with a technical assistance provider. As I mentioned in my presentation, the reason we offer technical assistance for multifamily properties is because they're oftentimes more complex, and it's not as simple as just upgrading a panel and putting in a charger. There are a lot of different considerations that come into play, especially with like availability of energy, even like at your site. And so I'm happy to continue talking about this offline and connect you with our team that works on this as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, in Goleta, I believe you're a 3C. Your property would be a 3C customer, but
right.
Sometimes Goleta's a little weird. I know, like around the university, there actually are some addresses that are actually technically City of Santa Barbara. But yeah, let's continue talking. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to add one more thing to that conversation too, Kurt. There is often actually it might be worth taking a look into some solutions like the DCC9 solution by RVE out there. There are opportunities to better utilize existing power rather than creating completely new power at a site. And so that's what we're doing as well within specifically apartment complexes. And so it's just something to look into, sort of this power management side of things, because a lot of folks like to charge their vehicles in the evening when they're going to be asleep, and they typically are not using a lot of their power anyways. And so these solutions will also help provide a more affordable solution to the folks that are actually looking to do these installs as well too.
Was that Stephen Wang talking?
Stefan Ing, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
All right. I think we have Julian up next, if you're able to unmute.
So SB City homeowner, I have my charging hardware and I've engaged like an electrician for a bid. So is the process to get the electrician to do the work with necessary permitting and then submit the application with all that information? For SB City?
Hey, Julian. So yes, for the Santa Barbara Clean Energy Residential EV program, you do all the work and then submit the application for the rebate. It'll require like photos of the installation, and yeah, if there was permitting required, proof of that, and like past inspection. And we're pretty good about turning those around quite quickly. We say give us 30 days. We really aim for 2 weeks maximum. So yeah, that's how you do that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica Johnson.
Hi there. My question is for Faith as well. I'm a project manager for People Self-Help Housing in San Luis Obispo, and I have a project in Templeton that is currently in the design phase. We're about to submit to for our second plan check, and we're coordinating with a solar PV consultant for this project. And I'm wondering about a couple of things. I'm wondering if you could clarify the difference between the level 2 and the level 3 EV charger and installation rebates, and what the availability. I mean, it looks like the maximum for multifamily housing might be 20,000, but so that's why I'd like to understand a little more about the level 3. And then before you answer that, we already do have design for this. So I'm wondering, when the project is in that phase, if we're still eligible, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for the question. The difference between the level 2 and level 3. So level 3 is going to be a DC fast charger. They're much more expensive. They're more expensive to use as well. So to, actually put in a charger is more expensive, the cost of them. But then also, like, oftentimes the DC fast chargers are what you find in public spaces for people on like highway corridors who need to charge quickly. And so most of the time, residential at like, a single family home or a multifamily home, people have longer periods of time and can have a charge can charge for 2, 4, 6 hours, no problem. And so level 2 charging is usually all they need. And so it just depends on what your project, like what kind of charging you need for your project. But for the DC fast chargers level 3, we do offer up to $100,000 for a DC fast charger project. That could be just a single charger, could be that expensive, or depending on like what the actual project requires, that could cover and some of like multiple chargers. As I mentioned, our funding is limited for this fiscal year. We are planning to pause the program next week. You mentioned your project has already gone through like the planning phase. I would need to know like when you guys are planning to complete the project. If you're planning to complete the project in the next few months, then that would like change like when you'd be able to apply. Uh, but yeah, if you have any additional comments on like when you guys plan to have the project
Great.
ready.
Yeah. Oh, are you there? It froze.
Yes.
I think, okay. Okay, great. It's a 28 unit new construction development that is scheduled to start construction in February of 2027. So we are still in the planning phase. And so I did notice that you had said that there was a pause in the program and that October 2026 would be when it's opening up again.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason I'm kind of wondering as we are well into the process, just that it would still be eligible based on where we're at in the design phase.
Absolutely. Yeah, the larger projects like that usually take, it's a long development time, so we understand that. Yeah, you would be eligible for next fiscal year's rebates. And we also always appreciate for larger projects, you can just reach out to us to like let us know if there's any updates on your timeline. Just so like we can keep you most in the loop of like where available funds are. And it sounds like you're far enough along in like the design and planning phase, but if you do have any questions around that, like please feel free to reach out to us as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much. And I will for sure. Appreciate it. Thanks for answering my question.
All right, Kent. You're not unmuted yet, Kent.
Do we have the ability to unmute for him? I know sometimes the like host can do that.
We can only ask him to unmute, unfortunately. So if anyone has questions while we wait for Kent to figure out his technical difficulties, feel free to jump in.
Finally, I'm doing it on an iPad. This is Kent Bullard down in Ventura. One of the things that sound like there was an issue with a multifamily unit where you have car stalls with low power and you're trying to increase the power. And in multifamily units where you're trying to put in access to electricity for charging, putting in level 2 charger equipment, especially if you're going to do it in an area of a parking stall where not everyone necessarily needs the electricity or the cost of an EV or a level 2 charger, a company has an outlet that is controlled, and it's a small electrical meter that is installed as 110 or 220 volt application. It's a essentially a methodology that allows you to have an outlet that people can use their own charger that comes with their car to access the electricity. If it is level 1, they're charging overnight, but through your Bluetooth, it charges the electricity, the cost of electricity to the individual account. So in multifamily units, you're not using the community electricity, you're paying for the electricity to use. And this is a unit called Orange Charge, and they just received certification through the State Division of Measurement Standards to qualify as a electrical submeter for commercial application. So I think it's a great idea. Opens up the multifamily units. Also, by installing just an outlet, you're not necessarily going to be compelled to an ADA access issue. It also allows people to charge e-bikes. You can charge your neighborhood electric vehicle. It's not just a vehicular access, it's mobility access to outlets. So it's Orange Charger. If anybody has questions, you can get a hold of me and I'll connect you with the company. But I'm going to be promoting it at our EV outreach education showcases as part of our charging application successes. So that's it.
Thanks for sharing, Kent. Okay, we have about 7 minutes until our 1 p.m. scheduled end time. We encourage everyone who has any remaining questions to unmute and answer them or ask them so the experts here can answer them.
Is there a way that I can get contact information for Kent? He wasn't one of the presenters.
It's my name, Kent Bullard at gmail.com.
Kent
Or you can
Bullard.
get a hold of me through Sydney or Sean, anybody.
We'll send out a list of all the presenters' contact, and we'll make sure to add Kent's contact in that as well.
Thank you.
All right, Paul?
Hi, are any of these rebates for charging available for commercial shopping centers or other commercial projects where they'd be available to the public to charge or to the employees to charge their cars?
Yes, I'll start with just saying the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District's Clean Air Grants program is open to all types of public or private EV charging projects located in Santa Barbara County, assuming you're in Santa Barbara County. If anyone's from Ventura or San Luis Obispo counties in the room, the air pollution control districts of those counties also have programs. They aren't currently open at this time, so that's why they weren't presenting, but Santa Barbara County APCD's program is open to residential, commercial, public-facing fleet charging projects.
Great, thanks.
Hi, Paul. I also wanted to highlight 3C's program. If you are a 3C customer in SLO or Santa Barbara County, you are eligible, commercial businesses are eligible for our EV charger and installation incentive, as well as our available charging infrastructure planning, technical assistance that we offer. So if you're our customer, yeah, we have rebates for you.
So City of Goleta is in your range, right?
Yes, City of Goleta is. And yeah, you can follow up with me afterwards with more details. I'm happy to speak specific to your project.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jennifer. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Let's see. I'm the executive director of the Legal Aid Foundation of Santa Barbara County, and we're uniquely positioned in that we own our property. So it sounds like from what I was hearing that the city of we own our property at Garden and Cannon Perdido. But it sounds like from what I'm hearing, there aren't any city specific programs specific to nonprofits or other small businesses.
I'll just start again, then I'm sure Santa Barbara Clean Energy will want to jump in. But you
Mhm.
would be eligible to apply for our Santa Barbara County APCD's Clean Air Grants Program.
Mhm.
So nonprofit entities are eligible to apply. We don't have any like specific program or set aside for nonprofit small businesses, but you are eligible, and depending on your project type and what you're thinking in terms of private or public accessibility, you might qualify for some of those additional incentive percentages over the base of 60% of eligible costs. So I'd be happy to connect with you further, Jennifer, after this meeting to talk through a potential project and your eligibility.
Okay, great. And in terms of, and I think what I hear in a lot of the questions, depending on where we are, is a lot of like, sometimes it's like hard to know where to begin. For those of us who may not have as much expertise in this area. Um, so at least from what I'm hearing, it sounds like we can at least like reach out to various of the entities who are here today to kind of at least gather some preliminary information, and that might help us sort of get started at least.
Definitely. Unfortunately, we don't have any technical assistance as part of the APCD's program.
Mhm.
Obviously, we have some great other programs that are offering that, but I'd be happy to talk you through kind of the process that we see, the requirements, and depending on your project scope, it can be very different in terms of the process, and we understand that and want to make it as easy as possible to apply for an incentive. So be happy to talk further with you.
Probably more of my interest is with City of SB because we also have a site that has historic merit and a lot of complicating factors. Um, but I didn't hear that as being available in the city of Santa Barbara for technical assistance for businesses
Jennifer,
that are.
this is John Greaser from the city of Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara Clean Energy. That is correct. However,
Mhm.
happy to speak with you whenever you'd like. Our contact
Okay,
information is in the deck that Sydney is going to provide.
great.
Please reach out, and even though we don't have technical assistance available for this customer type, we're happy to help you and direct you to the right resources in the city of Santa Barbara.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we are at our 1 p.m. scheduled end time. We appreciate everyone participating in today's webinar. We will be posting the recording to the Electric Red 805's website by the end of this week, and we will follow up with the presentation slides and contact information for all presenters shortly in the next few days, hopefully sooner. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team and the speakers. And thank you all so much for your participation today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.